Hello, Alexa Hampton here with 52 Weeks of Design. Today we are speaking to James Sansum, and there he is. There he is. Let's just. I know I have to sing. It's a thing. Hi!
Hi.
I know where you are.
Yes, here I
You
am.
lucky dog.
I know. I just realized before this that I hadn't charged my phone, so I'm just sort of addled. It's now hooked up, so hopefully
Okay,
it
good.
won't go out. Right.
I want you to know you're not the only person who does that.
Long, long, long. I'm lost. Hello.
Long lost hello. I loved reading your answers to the questionnaire, especially because I was like, wow, me too, me too, me too. I'm like, we have so many um things in common. Your appreciation of the 19th century, of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones,
Yes.
uh, you know, the Hare with the amber eyes. So many good things.
Well,
So
can I just say that I was very happily surprised and enormously honored that you even thought of me in this way. So thank you
I
again.
I think of you in this way.
Uh,
I
yes,
think this is the way you want me to think of you, not something
as
else.
opposed to all of the actual ways that you think
Yeah,
of me, right?
yeah.
Anyway,
So I always love hearing how everybody got started in their chosen field, and why should today be any different? It
oh
should
Lord.
not be. So tell me beyond rebelling against Palo Alto, how did you get into the business?
Well, I think everything always adds up, right? It is this. I don't. I think it's the rare person who has a set plan and moves forward and like checking, you know, box A and box B, and then everything works out in the end. So I was always
Let us see
interested.
your whole face,
Okay,
since
sorry,
you are Benjamin Button. Okay, go on.
um, I was always interested in history and in old old objects, and I was just looking for a connection to a past history, and sort of uh, the wonderful and positive thing about the West Coast and California is this sort of blank blank slate almost. Obviously, it
Uh-huh.
has a rich history, but it's not as uh, uh, always
Storied.
evident as it is in elsewhere. I'm in New England, etc. So when I would visit my mother's family, I'm in New Orleans, or uh, anytime that we would go on a trip, and I'm in Europe, and when I was young in Austria, and I was always drawn to like the crazy castle
Yeah.
or the decrepit falling down thing, and that is what kind of sparked
As being
interest, I think.
imbued with mystery and stories, and
And
like
just,
something that spoke to your child mind.
I mean, yes. And, I was just interested in um, something beyond our, our, our experience
Yeah, at hand.
now,
Yeah.
what happened earlier. So that's what interested me.
Um, and when you went to school, what did you study?
When I was in college, I had sort of a weird I was a medievalist, so it's sort of a combination of history, art history. I'm in literature. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I always sort of was gravitated towards things that would have no uh, practical uh, practical use in my life. So somehow I was interested in
I
the
love
ancient world,
it. You got it.
and
I'm all
so
in.
right. Well, everyone else was doing ec- economics and pre this and pre that. I was interested in a world that wasn't around anymore. So,
Yeah.
alas.
Alas, alack. So it is great though when you can find something that is perhaps on paper and practical, but that can, in addition to giving you great joy, support you. There's always a
In
nice
fact,
thing. I don't know if you feel this way. I feel that that's always a good thing.
yes. I mean, I'm envious of you and others who had sort of strong, uh, sort of a model for a life.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Sure.
And, you know, I'm totally happy with where I am in life, and everything kind of works out in the end. But it would have been helpful to have someone say like, okay, you do this to then do that. You need to
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
about such a thing. So anyway, I mean, it was a luxury of being. I'm a different world.
yeah. When did you open your first antiques store?
Um, on
And
my
do you
own,
call it a store? Do you call it a shop? Do you call it a gallery?
a shop, SHOPPE. Yes,
Okay, good.
indeed.
So we got a
No.
little flair.
Oh, right. No, I mean, it's that argument of like a gallery versus, I mean, it's just, I'm a shop. I mean, we're all,
You're a shop, though. I do feel that there's an argument to be made that were I to assign you a noun, you would be one of the few where gallery would work
well,
because each piece is so, you don't just stumble into uh, a, a world of like you can't walk through the door because of all of the stuff.
are
Yours,
you saying that I need to buy more items to like fill it
no.
up, Alexa? Is
I
that what
just
you're
think
trying
you're
to
so
imply?
in love with each and every piece that they have
Yes.
been elevated to the point
Okay.
of being
I like that.
artwork.
I like that. And
Like that time in Indianapolis when you got me that beautiful wood carved egg. Do you
oh
even
my
remember
goodness.
this? It sits on my desk at work, but you got it for me. I mean, that must have
Wow.
been
Wow. Ancient history.
25 years ago. I don't know.
Oh, Lord.
Um, but I thought, like, wow, you just went around that whole antique show and you were able to pluck out this incredible treasure. So somebody just asked, and I want to ask too, where in your family does the taste come from? Or does it just come from studying the literature and the yearning and the going to museums and where do they meet?
What was that? I'm
I
sorry.
know that
What was
was
the question?
that was did you,
I missed
you
that.
fell asleep a little bit right there. I have
It's
that effect on people.
3 hours
I thought
earlier
that
here, so I just,
and I'm just not off for a second. The question is, where did your great taste come from? Was it innate? Is it in your family? Or was it a byproduct of your interests and then you're studying your interests?
um, who knows? I did have um, my mother's family. There were certain sort of old odds and ends that I sort of called as a joke this sacred objects because they were like, this used to be here in this house,
Yeah.
and the year ought. But and that's what interested me, and I was crawling around as a child looking up at things, and then my mother's mother had, I think, a great taste, and she was interested in uh, Japanese things, and so there was a mixture of like, you know, American things, Asian things, and that's what I love. So
Yeah. As we go through this moment, this revolutionary moment about Western culture and European culture, I love hearing things that are not within my experience. You know, like I did not discover um, Asian culture and the arts in any serious way till much later, till I was a grown up, and knowing all of these. I mean, you travel all the time, don't you?
Well, yes. I mean, um, um, ideally, and we have. You know, I looked at our uh, travel schedule in 2019, as I'm sure. I mean, I know that you, I mean, Markham have a big joke of whenever you're at LaGuardia
At
calling,
Delta.
yes, each other saying, "Are you here? Are you here?"
But
And
we
you
have,
know, I
we
know,
end up seeing each other.
I
We
know, I
bump into
know.
each other all the time.
So anyway, um,
But I think you're going to all of the places that you go to, and you guys are pretty rigorous travelers. Um, Obviously, it's made a huge difference to your eye. In your answers to the questionnaire, when you said that you had discovered that drawing that now hangs in the Indianapolis Museum, um, that is proof to me that just looking, and educating yourself really honed
exactly.
that taste level.
I mean, I don't know about taste, good, bad, or otherwise, but I do know that if you have a certain eye that takes things in a way, like I can't ever remember a name of anyone I might meet until I see it, you know, um, down on a piece of paper, so I can hear it over and over, but I don't have an ear for language, obviously, and
Not
and other
necessarily.
things. But I do believe I have an eye that takes in things and stores it away. So hopefully that helps.
Would you give us a little look-see around some of the, yeah, everyone's wanting to see where you are, of some of the things that you have placed in your environment?
Placed.
No, I mean, I feel
Yes.
like the way you collect things is almost like a talisman.
Okay.
So
Happily,
show
happily.
us some of your,
Okay, I'm going to unplug my phone.
your almost dead phone.
And then does that work? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're on the
And
porch.
what
This
a
is
beautiful
the
color.
sun porch. I'm in the Port Townsend house, and this porch has always been painted sort of this shade of green with this accent of green, which I just love. And when I was a
Electric
child
toothpaste.
and my parents bought this house, I was instantly like, oh,
Yeah.
yes. And you can see we're right on a bluff that it's a very foggy day, as you can see, that's that.
Yeah.
And here, the great thing is that there are these beautiful beaches. You just go and you find amazing rocks and things. And this town has a very cool, this is where we have, a drink and play
I love that you have a drink and play
backgammon.
backgammon. You're leading the life I'd like to.
And
What's that? Just specimens?
these are rocks that you know when you're in the Grand Canyon, and we went on this sort of week-long thing down the Colorado, which was amazing and heavenly, but also super hard and whatever. And you're not supposed to like take anything out. Well, and this is what happened. So my bag got heavier and heavier, but this is like the whole history of the Earth. This,
Yeah.
there are rocks anyway. So, and that's on a great Native American woven basket. And then this is sort of, it's not a big house at all, but it has very nice, it has a flow that the rooms all open up to
Yeah.
each other. I mean, Markham has really worked on his magic on this house, but there are things like, I love these, um, um, a best Arabian I always love. So, and this is
Beautiful
a nice
colors.
one. And then uh, American
I love that quilt.
quilts, which are great. And then a great friend of ours gave us these, which are these sort of, it's a bottle opener.
That's
Hilarious.
great.
But
I
all,
thought they were going to be, like some rare gemstone,
well,
something or other.
it is handy though,
It
always
is
have
handy.
a bottle opener. And this is how backward we are. We have
DVDs. But
DVDs
look
here.
at how everything is placed around this house.
Oh, yes.
Even if it's the DVDs, there's like a little trove to be appreciated. That's like the placement on that table. I find it
Oh,
there's
look.
very altar-like.
And
Yay,
what is
Armageddon!
this? What is this? And
I
this is
I feel like you take an altar display approach to your objet.
an altar display. Oh my. Well, all bowed down at the altar.
Well, no, after you made fun of your parents for the sacred feces, I mean, this all looks very sacred.
No, they weren't calling them that. I was calling them
Right,
that.
it was their treatment of them.
Exactly. So this is this
Very
there's a
curated.
type of Japanese ceramic, and it's modeled after a macaque shell, and you can see them. There are little barnacles on it, and then there's even a loose element in here. Can you hear that? So imagine
The pearl.
creating that. Anyway, those are the things I love. And I don't know what. Here's our view.
All right, you don't have to work anymore. You can sit down and plug in,
Okay, and here's.
and we'll keep asking you questions.
Okay.
So, where did you go to school?
I went to college at Harvard, and then I went to graduate school in the history of decorative arts at a program through Parsons and the Cooper Hewitt, which was
So you're
excellent.
super dummy,
Oh wait, I haven't
which is a pity.
switched this around. Okay.
So you're just total dum-dum. I do, obviously, the collecting and is about knowledge. It's not about just finding those things that amuse you, right? I mean, there has to be that. I mean, it's got to be both.
Yes, I think that one thing that I learned early is that knowledge is highly important, obviously, and a key factor, but you can't only go by knowledge. There has to be this gut. You have to be, I'm in love with it. You have to want to have it always. You have to be willing to be stuck with it, because anything that I've bought because I'm like, oh, this is this, and it's worth so much more than I'm finding it, but I might kind of hate it. Those are the things that I end up with forever, and I'm just like, oh my God, that thing.
That'll teach you.
A curse. Exactly. So.
Where do you see? I mean, this is an annoying question, so I'm warning you, but it's so essential. How are you finding the world of antiques right now? And right now could be, say, the past 5 years,
right.
up till right now.
Well, in a weird way, I feel, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I began in this field, I mean, at the end of the 80s, the early 90s, where it was sort of this height of this thing where, I mean, you remember how, Ariane
Dondois, yes.
and New York and all of the galleries, and it was just a different aspect. And, you would go into these amazing things, and you would see I mean, it has just changed enormously, and that is one of the aspects of the internet, obviously, which is a positive. I mean, a negative. It opens it up to a wider audience, but you're not seeing things in a context of how they interact with other pieces within that. I mean, the real skill of a dealer who I think has a good eye is how all of the pieces that they find interact, and
Right.
you're sort of opening your eyes to a world seen through a person's eyes, and that can be enormously interesting. And I think a lot of that is lost when you're just looking at things in the JPEG over and over and over on a website. So
Somebody is correctly pointing out that you always have the prettiest booth at the Nashville's Antiques and Garden Show. How many shows do you do a year normally when there's not a plague marching across the planet?
Well, I happily do the show. I'm in Nashville, which is a great show, and then I do one in San Francisco, which is also an excellent
great
show.
Yeah.
And I like them because there are two. I mean, those shows are hard, and you're there, and you're working your, you're working hard, and it's a real effort, and it's an expense, and you want to at least be in a place where the town supports it, and they really are interested in what is being offered, and they show up, and they're enthusiastic, and those two towns have that, and they're great shows because they also are not for the show's organizers are doing it for they're doing it for a charitable,
Sure. But I also feel like people shop those two that you're mentioning.
Yes.
And maybe the big New York ones are so, some of, or Maastricht, some of the over the top ones are less accessible and fun for all of us. Not that I wouldn't love to go to Maastricht.
Well, yes. And the reason why I love the show in Nashville is that it has a price point for everyone. And so,
yeah.
And so I feel also that my booth really stands out and offers something that isn't offered elsewhere. So I like it a lot there. And I like how it's such a great town also. And we have, it's just, I'm happy making.
Yeah. So somebody is asking, what's in vogue in terms of antiques now, and will the pandemic change tastes? And they want us both to try to, doesn't matter, we can answer it wrong.
Okay.
But if there is wrong.
After you, Alexa.
Okay, I don't see the pandemic, well, maybe it's changing, and this is all theoretical because it's sort of like wish fulfillment for me. Maybe it's changing modernist interiors, because if you're living at home with your kids and you've got all that crap everywhere, and you have to have a desk to do the homework, and you have to have different rooms separated from each other, maybe a more layered look will be the result, just out of practical needs. But you've muted yourself. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There.
Can
okay.
you hear me?
I saw your mouth moving, but there were no words.
Blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? That might be an improvement. You can just see my mouth moving, and that's it. Okay. Sorry, I don't know how to hold this thing. I am with you wholeheartedly, because I think that when the world is scary, you want a cozy aspect. You don't want to arrive home and feel as though I'm in a hospital room. To be honest with you,
Unless you need
knock on wood. Oh my gosh, why am I saying that?
Yeah, the one thing where I find that out of step is that in a pandemic you want to feel like everything is clean. So you want to see that it's clean, but nah. I can't hear you again.
Here I am.
Okay, stop doing whatever that is that you're doing.
I must be holding my hand over.
You must be
I don't know how this
covering the phone and putting a bag over your head.
Which is my dream state anyway. Just in hiding, you know.
Let me take this moment to thank you for agreeing to do this. It is not without appreciation.
Yes.
But I think we can all look back in the last few years and the prevalence or the reemergence of maximalism as a, whatever you want to call it. Like the change has already had begun before the pandemic.
Right.
And I think nostalgia has to do with that.
Nostalgia. How I love thee. After my own heart. No, I've always I've admired, living without anything. It just hasn't been how I could have ever lived. So,
Yeah.
Alas.
Alas, the thank heavens for us. So you mentioned that you feel very drawn to the 19th century. Has that always been the case?
Always.
Because I too am very drawn to the 19th century, and I find it a lonely place. I don't feel like a bazillion people love 1840 the way I love 1840 or 1810.
But if you look at like 1801 to 1899 and look at the spectrum of architecture, art, design throughout that period, so much more has happened within that 100-year period than has happened for the last 800 years. So it's part of the world getting economically
right. The Industrial
richer.
Revolution had
More
such a huge
right.
effect.
I'm the opening up of Japan, like all of these elements, and you just look at the it's sort of pre-stages what happens in our world, where everything instantly opens up, and then you're like, oh, I want this. And I looked on Instagram and I saw something that this person had done elsewhere, and I'm going to alter my outlook. It was a mixture of, as you said, the industrial revolution and the ability to create things, a huge influx of wealth, and just sort of the opening of travel, everything else. So.
Yeah. And yes, that whole, when I think about why my house is so grand toury, it's the grand tour is such a on the face of it, a pompous, affect.
Oh.
But for me, in addition to the awesome pomposity of it, is the nostalgia of family trips and seeking out a world with which I was unfamiliar, and being, whether it was seeing castles and thinking of Cinderella, or landing on an airplane and looking down and seeing all the twinkling lights and having a connection in my brain to seeing that and thinking it was an amusement park. So that my dog brain would always get really excited when I was landing on a plane. But those things gave my love of grand tour things my meaning. And when you're saying like, oh yeah, I like that, I saw that on Instagram, and then you get it, it's so disembodied
Correct.
and like, what's it about?
What indeed is it about? But I think that sort of, I love aspects of the grand tour because it's like learning a language also. You're becoming part of this, like, you know, history.
Finishing school.
Yes, almost of like, oh, all right, a column. What does it do? What's the
Yeah.
function? Oh, that, like, what's the evolution of this ornament? Oh, Corinth. What was happening there? So
Mhm.
I love that aspect. Um, yes, and I mean, I think one aspect of the pandemic is that without the ability to travel, it's the objects that remind us of these trips, or of the trips that we haven't had yet, that
Mhm.
we're hoping to have. Like, we haven't ever been in India, but you know, our houses have.
You've never been to India?
No, and our houses have like a
You're gonna
mini tour of
die.
this. I know exactly. It seems it's now one of those things where you push it off, and then there's the horrible fear of what it if it will never happen. So,
Yeah, that's me with Egypt.
oh
Um,
God, Egypt was just mind altering, because when you do grow up viewing a column and a monument in a way, and then you see it there, sort of turned on its head,
yeah,
expanded, the change of
the
light,
the just
the
the template.
monumentality of it. It's just mind altering. I loved it beyond
Um,
anything.
lucky jerk. Um,
Beyond.
so you said when we can't travel, it's hard with furniture and stuff, but I find that furniture is traveling for me. I'm having things shipped on approval, and I'm having things, certainly it's not the same thing. You can't walk into the stores necessarily.
Right.
But thank God, the internet, which has been so irritating for so long in terms of our worrying about its disruption in our industry, is now the greatest thing our industry ever did, because now
Yes, in
we
fact.
get to see things, find them, and then just as the first line of defense, like, oh, okay, do I want to see that in person? Or, okay, I'll
Yeah.
have that. I'll go call James and ask him to take me pictures that aren't like the glamour shots.
Right.
And
Well, it's definitely impelled me to finally, after 5 years, uh, to get my website. I'm up and running. I'm sort of like, I'm a Luddite about that, so I have to get organized. Anyway,
I've always loved your website.
well, it,
Is it really? I haven't
I
seen it
guess you
recently.
haven't, because there's only a homepage. So anyway.
Oh no! So you've just
Oh, well,
eviscerated it?
Alexa, I think that I've caught you.
No, but did you just eviscerate it?
No, anyway, it's a long story. Shall soon be up and running, and uh, uh, thrilling everyone. So
Thrilling everyone.
yeah.
And do you like? I mean, you don't feel gloomy when you think about selling over the internet, do you, or do you?
Well, the one of the reasons why I love doing an antique show is that it gives you the ability to show pieces in, um, like, a context, with
Right,
objects
like you
on
said,
them,
like
with
your
art.
answer on the questionnaire about recontextualizing things into
Well,
interesting new ways.
I kind of, I think that that's a real aspect, and seeing also the scale, obviously, and seeing how things do interact, which is the reason why I like being in this, area of work. But also, it's the ability to actually explain the history and the sort of the meaning of something to I'm a client. I'm in a way that doing it through email just always,
For sure.
is hard.
How do you find the things that you find? Do they find you? Do you go out seeking them? Like,
I walk up Park Avenue at 3 a.m. and no, just kidding.
with a rope ladder. But are you going to other antique shows? Are you like how?
As you said earlier, don't you find that you're constantly having your eyes open? So it's all things. It's finding something that a dealer might have in an odd a place where they have it. It doesn't have a draw or a meaning, and sort of taking it out of there and offering it in a new way. It's through auction houses, big, small, otherwise. It's through, it's anywhere. I've found really beautiful and interesting things at the antique mall here in this tiny town, like really good. I just found this beautiful Inuit carving on whale bone of a dog's head. Like, it's this incredibly rare, wild, charming thing, and it was just there in and amongst the junk. So
yeah, I was waiting for you to use that word. I was like, is it going to do it? Is it going to pull out the J word?
The J word. I might love the J word. But one person.
I do like junk.
One person's junk is another person's.
Yeah, Pavlos was just telling my mother that George Carlin bit, where everybody's stuff is shit, but your shit is stuff.
Well, yes.
So you spend a lot of time looking at auctions?
Kind of. It's sort of that endless. It's kind of like a scroll when you're having a drink and like Waal.
Yeah.
It also, but I find that if I'm in a mood, everything is ugly, or if I'm in a mood, everything is beautiful, and so you always have to pause,
be in the right mood.
Yeah. Don't ever buy things like at an auction where you're just walking in and looking at it like, oh my god, I want this. Raise your hand. So that's always a mistake.
I have a colleague with me right now today who she in the past will walk into the room to show me something and be like, I'm not going to show you this now. Hey, you're in a bad mood. You're not going to like anything. I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah. In fact,
so, yeah.
isn't that how it is?
Yeah, I love being managed.
That's it.
I love it.
Here.
I try to teach my kids. I try to teach my kids how to manage me. I'm like, if you just say this or act this way, I'll let you do anything.
Right.
But they still haven't gone there.
I wish I had a manager. That just sounds heavenly.
Yeah, no, I like being managed by Pavlos too. I'm there for the managing. I just love it.
I wouldn't have imagined.
So this is your favorite house, or is Clinton Corners your favorite?
Well,
this has had a longer standing relationship with you.
It's a luxury, obviously, to like one or the other, but this, it's so nice to have the change of it. I haven't ever spent a lot of time here. I'm in the winter, but it's the Pacific Northwest, so there's it's rain, and all of that. So I think that it would be hard being here for long periods of the winter. While when we're in Clinton Corners, it's so heavenly being up there. In the winter when there's snow and you have a tire on and a drink in hand, and it's heavenly.
Yeah.
So it's the best of all worlds, frankly.
Last impossible question.
Please.
How do you decide when something you have that you own and love is ready to be sold? Is it ever?
Well, that is
Therein lies the
problem.
problem.
And it's hard with with having this house and the other house. We're always thinking, oh, well, this might look good there
Over there.
and we'll just try it. So I have to work hard at not depleting everything. But honestly, once it's at home, it hardly ever heads I'm out again, which is a sort of...
Oh my God, so you've really got to be careful.
I do have to be enormously careful. More that, I'm a joke in this household that I'm worried about ending up among hoarders, I do have...
Yeah. But with Metzkes.
Closets I open up where things sort of fall out, and I'm like, oh, right, that's where that is. And so that is an issue. But on the other hand, I don't ever take anything to a house because it always ends up there. So.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that you, the professional, has that problem as well.
It's a problem. Well, I think that you are involved in this world because you love things. And so it's hard to not have them always end up at home. And there are things that I have had in the gallery which I've loved and have ended up in a good home. And I have just, it is, I've lamented it. So.
Do you lament the green chair that's in my entrance?
I do, as a matter of fact.
Do you? No,
that
I'm so
chair
sorry.
Has a pitch, like a perfect,
Shall I show everybody what I stole from you? Hold on. How do I do this? There we go. There it is.
Well,
that's the beautiful chair.
I hardly see it, but that chair is also good because it's marked with, it's a Jean Sen, but it's marked. It has the original.
The attribution. What can I see around here? There's got to be
decoration.
I must have tons of things from you.
Oh, and the mirrors you have, which I love.
Oh, yes. The mirrors. Hold on. Kate Callahan, duck.
Put your clothes on, everyone.
We're working on market schemes.
Nice.
But this is the mirror.
Yes. Yeah. I love those.
They're so great.
I'm always happiest when something I love ends up in a place
that you go to routinely.
Well, also just seeing them up and happy makes me happy. So anyway,
I couldn't show you too much of my tree because it is, if ever there was a time to use the expression withering on the vine, I will show it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, she's struggling.
Oh wow.
She's struggling.
A beauty.
There was also once I got from you some Japanese lacquered.
Oh Lordy. Well, what happened again?
Were they braziers? What were they?
Yes, they were.
So they came to my house. They were planted, and somebody overwatered, or maybe the lining was an antique. And by the time I sent them to you to be like, what can we do? You called me and you're like, what, did you Ace Ventura this package to the office?
They exploded. Yeah.
like dribbling it on the ground and rolling it to you.
It was, I'm a tragedy.
It was a tragedy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to have been caught murdering some antiques. But,
They had a long, happy history. And
until
then,
they met me.
And then, right, ...
Well, I think it's almost time for me to release you from your horror of this interview. I think you've done a manfully fabulous job.
Well, thank you. And thank you for putting up with my speech issues also. That's always...
Oh, no, you know what's so great is I'm such a sentence finisher that it is a wonderful...
I love that. It's so much... I'm less work having somebody else just filling in all of the blanks. It's like
no, I feel like you deserve to not be interrupted. So
oh no,
it's great.
I love it. Interrupt away.
Please get your website up and running so everyone can see your beautiful stuff. Where should people go? So you've got nowhere for anyone to go.
I have got nowhere. It's the story of my life. Oh, Lordy.
Seriously, so all you have is the entry page?
Oh, Lexa, do not... it'll all be amazing, up and running, awesome. So, get ready.
Are you still on First Dibs?
I'm not at the moment.
Where can we find you?
A few odds and ends in
Collect?
Yeah.
See, there I interrupted. Okay, see a few things on Collect, and...
This is the impetus. I will get my act together.
Yeah, because you know this whole thing about selling. You should be able to see this stuff. And then and then someone could ask you what it costs, and then you could respond, and then the person could say, okay, I'm going to send you money.
I was once asked, I'm about my job. So is this a hobby of yours? And I'm like, you might think that I'm treating it as a hobby, but no, in fact, it is my income. So yes, I need to get over that. So, alas.
Alas. Well, I love you, Oodles. I can't wait to see you and have you see Percy. You saw that little picture of him in front of the door?
Oh, my word. Yes. Please. We can have a Percy, Harriet off. And
yeah, and now I will no longer have to borrow your dogs to pretend they're mine for dog books.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh, Lordy.
Well,
all right, to the next 30 years, James.
Please give all of your...
And now you froze. I don't know what you just said, but I'm assuming you love me and my family, and we're going to do something.
Yes.
Okay.
Our Isle of
Capri
evening might have to happen.
But
not anytime.
Not anytime soon. Right. All of the people there will die. Just as a last note of the kind of hospitality you can expect if you're lucky enough to be Markham and James's friend, is you could be invited to stay at their gorgeous house, as we have been, and your 9-year-old can be fed a huge pallet of mussels that were so rank that everyone at the table, we all thought somebody was having stomach problems.
But this wasn't from our household, okay?
No,
I don't want
it was at a restaurant, but it was only after she had completely eaten the mussels did we all identify from whence that smell was deriving.
If a person hadn't had a pizza with ramps on it, with spring onions on it, we would have... I've known immediately, but I'm all is well. That ends well, right?
Yeah, but we had to come home and pour, at Markham's behest, vodka down Kiki's gullet.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no knowledge of this.
Okay, all right, no knowledge. This didn't happen. It's a rumor. I love you, James. Have a
Beyond.
great Thursday. Happy
Thank you.
52 weeks and speak to you soon.
Thank you, my love. Bye bye.
Bye.